Welcome, my Mercurial mercenaries. How do you avoid burnout when you're listening to album after album after album? You avoid it by listening to this album by Midori Takada, Through the Looking Glass. The more eagle-eyed amongst you might remember that this album used to live up there, where blessed are the sick by morbid angel now resides. But now, my mercenaries, finally, you and I, we're now going to listen to this work of art. This album could probably be described, well, no, not could probably, it's going to be, it is being described by me right now as a work of art. Most music could probably be described as a work of art, unless it's a crock of shit. But then sometimes, my mercenaries, depending on your frame of mind and your point of reference, the old 2 + 2 = 4, unless it's 2 + 2, which equals 2. Even a crock of shit, if you shine it up and buff it just right, could be a work of art, I suppose. Midori Takada, Through the Looking Glass. A very rare album. Not rare now because I've got it in my hand, but a rare album. One that I would suggest isn't listened to a lot, but we're going to listen to it. It's not gatefold. Oh, my mercenaries. We have writing in its drove if we want to read it. What colours are the vinyl on, mercenaries? You're going to be disappointed. Unless you like black vinyl. It's black! Let's put it on, my mercenaries. Side A. We're going to start with Mr. Henry Russo's Dream. Now I want you to do something special with me today, my mercenaries. I want you to go and get yourself a bottle of bubbly. Right? Bottle of bubbly. This is a beautiful album. Through the Looking Glass by Midori Takada. This is her first solo album. And like I say, we're starting with Mr. Henry Russo's Dream. And if ever an album deserved to have some bubbly lavished upon it, it's this one, my mercenaries. Oh, yes. This is an album by a Japanese lady called Midori Takada. And just the fact that, think about this now, it's an album from the early 80s, made by a Japanese lady. In 2 days. Whoa! Holy shit. Oh, Christ. Right. We caught that on camera, my mercenaries. I just put a hole through my studio ceiling. That's right. This album was made in 2 days. It's one of those albums where someone holds himself up in a studio. This Japanese lady held herself up in a studio and made an album with found sound. There's an album on here, there's a track on here made primarily by blowing through a Coke bottle. I mean, hopefully she did a better job than that. That was bloody terrible. Here we go, my mercenaries. Okay, let's just relax. She tuned it, of course. Let's go up. Before she recorded this album, Midori Takada was part of a larger collective, an ensemble, a band, a group, who recorded a few albums. Now, this was her first, like I said, solo effort. Now, I'm not an expert on Japanese music, I'm not an expert on the avant-garde, but I would suggest this is in the vein of Brian Eno. One thing I would suggest that you bear in mind when you listen to this album is the idea of, we come from like a Western preoccupation with verse and chorus and middle eight bridge with song structure. Even if we don't have singing and vocals, we come very much, and I place myself firmly in this category of when I'm writing a song, I get an acoustic guitar out, and you even find yourself saying, well, okay, that can be the verse, now we need a chorus. What I found with this album is it's very much what you'll find is, and this is what I wanted to, this is what I want to take across, and you're going to find this in elements of my music in the future, Mercurial number 6 kind of music, is the idea of throwing out random sounds. You start off throwing out random sounds, but then when the random sounds are coming out like this, and you're just thinking, this is just, at this point it's just noise. But what happens is, and then eventually the random sounds kind of coincide and interlink, and before you know it, sometimes without even truly realising it, you've got cohesion. It's like that thing of out of the chaos can come order and structure. So I would say for this song we've got bird song. What does it make you think of? You can see why I want you to have a glass of something with you right now, my mercenaries. But as this album progresses, you'll see what I mean when it comes to the idea of just hitting random sounds. You'll notice it crop up again and again. And once you throw more and more random sounds out there, you'll notice the structure. And you'll notice how this woman tends to take what sounds like a mess and mould it and shape it into something that you eventually think, holy shit, that's beautiful. And let's not pretend that this kind of music doesn't inspire people. You'll hear elements on this album that Damon Albarn out of Blur very much rode with when he was going through all that African tribal beat stuff that he was doing. Because although this is a Japanese album, it's kind of taking that thing of world music. And this was released in like 1983, I think. Recorded January 27th and 28th and February the 3rd, okay, 3 days, in 1983 at Aoyama Studio, Tokyo, mixed at RVC Studio, Tokyo. And you assume that therefore this is going to be sort of intrinsically, inherently Japanese. But as we listen to this album, you'll find that you're hearing a woman who's just dabbling in world music. I mean, I'm not a fan of world music, but I find that listening to something like this after you've been listening to the Beatles or the Stones or AC/DC or King Gizzard or Tim Impala or MGMT is it's like a palate cleanser. And I sound like a pretentious fucking dick right now, and I can hear myself sounding like it. I can hear myself sounding like it. But I swear to you, listen to something like this with an open mind. You need the open mind. Listen, right. See if you can hear through the course of the hour or so you're going to spend with me. See if you can hear where something like this inspires others. Because remember, being a Japanese woman in 1983, she's not concerning herself with the Western music scale, A, B, C, D, F, G, and the sharps and the flats. The flats, the houses, the apartments. She's doing what the hell she likes. And that's where it's easy to say, not easy, it's very difficult to say this, but I'll say it anyway. And I've had arguments with people before about this. But you kind of, there's like a punk rock ethic here, not rock, but there's a punk ethic here. If you're going to say, I'm going to release an album to the world and I'm going to make a song with nothing but me blowing into a Coca-Cola bottle, and I'm expecting people to buy it. I'm going to make a song of nothing but bird song, and I'm going to make a song using a Coca-Cola bottle. I say to you, Midori, I mean, I'm suggesting to you that you should be thinking, who else is doing stuff like that, stuff like this now? Do you not think of something like Flying Microtonal Banana by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard? The idea of stepping outside the norm, the Western music, and creating microtonal instruments and playing them. To the point where your average listener is probably just going to think, this is out of tune. There comes a point, I think, where successful musicians want to step outside. Step outside, love. You'll get a Paul Simon going over to South Africa and kind of embracing the culture. Or, I think it was South Africa, wasn't it? I don't own Graceland. Not sure why it's called Graceland. I thought it'd be like an Elvis tribute album, but how do I know? Like I say, I don't own any of the albums where he did it, but I think Damon Albarn out of Blur did something similar. It's tempting to call this an electronic album, but if you listen to it, it's just real instruments being played in the studio, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. So it's not an electronic album. This is about as real as you can get. So not only is she recording real things, hitting real things, blowing real things, but she's recording onto analog tape. And I'm listening to it on vinyl. I'm listening to the sounds of 1983, my mercenaries. Not 1984. We're now going to listen to Crossing. See if you can get a feel for what I've been talking about here. The idea of seemingly random sounds eventually integrating and becoming a song. That's what I get from this album, and that's what I don't hear in enough modern music. I shouldn't really give the game away because I'm really going to do something with this idea, and I don't think many people will watch this video because not many watch my Akira video, and not many people watch anything that's out of the ordinary. so I think I'll get away with it. But my secret here is, imagine doing something like this, but still with a Western aesthetic. In a way like King Gizzard are doing, but take it a step further than them. Imagine if this wasn't xylophones or whatever. Imagine if this was an electric guitar. Watch, listen. I mean, you've basically got one note being hit. Sometimes they coincide, sometimes they don't. It falls in and out of sync. Just listen. Imagine this playing on an electric guitar. Even one chord. One chord. How can you make a one chord song interesting? I think Midori Takada is telling us here how you make one chord interesting. Two notes we've got now. I mean, it's called crossing, so maybe we're supposed to. I am picking up the theme of a train here. I don't know what we're supposed to be picking up. I have got like a 10,000 word essay on the album sleeve that I could read. But for the minute, see, now we've got a consistent rhythm. We did. See what I mean? It seems like chaos falling in and out of itself. And then every so often, you're thinking, what the hell's going on? And every so often, your brain picks up on something about the melody and the rhythm, and you think, no, there's something there. There's something there. And then she's layering and layering. She's one woman in a studio, doing everything herself. Doing one run through, rewind the tape, record over the top, rewind the tape, record over the top, rewind the tape. In the course of 2-3 days in 1983. Imagine if you were the engineer, you were the guy pressing record, and you were listening to this. That's what fascinates me with music. Because my Mercenaries, and this just sounds like this talking, but honestly, if you're with me, right? Listen to this. Music is magic. I swear to God, music is magic. Like I was on Aha and Iron Maiden, Aerosmith, the Beatles, the Stones, Kinks, Pink Floyd. This sounds like an alien landscape. It sounded like I said, landscape there. That would be, I suppose if you imagine a field, imagine Wales or New Zealand, just a field with loads of lambs. Hear Dark Side of the Moon here a little bit. This is recorded after that, so I can't claim it's an influence. But she's definitely holy shit. See what I mean? It creeps up on you. Your head's trying to justify why you're listening to it. It's just random xylophone shit. Or, and then suddenly you realise you're listening to a song. And this is just as viable as Tubular Bells. But no one's heard this. It's a bit of a cult album. I don't think it was ever released on CD. You had to have it on vinyl. I think this is a really famous album in its own right. I think I think musicians, people in bands, do use this album as a palate cleanser. But I think your average guy on the street is not going to watch this video because they're going to see that I label it Midori Takada through the looking glass, and they're going to say, Mercurial number 6? No. We wanted MGMT, congratulations. And King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards, fill your lungs and float through the air, man. My point is, if you want to move on as a musician, or even as a listener, fucking listen to this. And I'm going to keep repeating this, like she is with the strikes, throughout this video, but listen to an example of chaos falling into order, and quite often falling back into chaos again. I mean, the fact that she's called it Through the Looking Glass, we're talking about a dream here, my mercenaries. We're talking about a dream here. Like a dreamscape. After pass and layer after layer. Is it speaking to you, my mercenaries? It speaks to me. When I first heard this album, I realised what I had to do. Make this something that a Western audience can devour. And if I can do that, I can open the heart of the sun. I can open the heart of the sun. Thank you, my mercenaries. Are you going to join me for side 2? I hope you're getting a feel for that randomness I'm talking about. Like I say, imagine this idea of complete chaos that eventually interlays. Imagine it. This may well be the Coca-Cola bottle song, a whole song. I think it is. This is a whole song just recording. Just remember, she's one person. Just blowing on a bottle. Rewinding the tape. I'm just doing it again. No click track. No fitting to a grid. Found sound. Pieces of glass. Commercial. There must be something she's trying to get across by using a Coca-Cola bottle. Being a Japanese woman. But imagine this. With electric guitars or a Western standard drum kit. Imagine it with vocals on top. No one's doing this, my mercenaries. That's not true. That's not true. Look, there's loads of avant-garde out there, and there's loads of bands trying to be different. But imagine being commercial with it. I think That's why I've been so drawn to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I know I keep banging on about them, but that is a band, I think, that would listen to this album and think, do you know what? For our next album, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And you could sing over this. You could, couldn't you? Or maybe people don't think you can, but I think you could. And I think where me and my detractors kind of the point that we do this and they comment on my videos of loads of shit, I think that the point that we have that splitting off, no, she wouldn't be happy with me belching on her song. The point that we deviate is where I have an open mind. Yeah, I sound pretentious as fuck at the moment, I know I do. I'm trying, look, some of you out there might just think this just sounds like the music to a 70s children's TV show on the BBC. But you've got to have an open mind, right? You don't have to. You can just hate this and give me a thumbs down and switch it off. Fine. But you could have an open mind. I wonder if it says anything specifically about this song on here. On the track Trompe l'Oeil, which is what we're listening to now, Takada used offset rhythms to blur and expand the percussive resonance of the instruments, thickening the sound colour. This track is also notable for the fact that Takada performed this composition using only a Coke bottle, bells, and a reed organ with a foot pedal. Think that through, my mercenaries. This is a cult album, considered by some people to be one of the greatest albums of all time. I know you guys won't consider it that, but I like it as a palate cleanser, right? She's used a Coke bottle and some bells. And a reed organ. Through the Looking Glass, Midori Takada. Perhaps I should have done some research first. Let's see what it says. I'm not going to read it all out. This album was originally released on vinyl in 1983. As no CD version of it has ever been released, nor has it ever been reissued up until now, Through the Looking Glass has become a very rare album, though one can assert that to this day it remains a timeless and rewarding listen. I'm hoping that you're at least getting that from this. It's no Radiohead. In fact, saying that, what do you think the chances are that Tom York owns this album? I'd say it's quite high, wouldn't you? Quite high. Final track, my mercenaries, Catastrophe. Oh, that sounds just epic. You could sing over this. You could sing over this. She describes the final track, Catastrophe, as an accelerando from start to finish, without allowing tempo and time to slip into one place. That's it. She says it perfectly there. She doesn't allow tempo and time to slip into one place. She's constantly throwing you. She's keeping you on your toes, my mercenaries. Through the Looking Glass is an album that keeps you on your toes. As the tempo gradually increases, the piano and reed organs slowly build a wall of sound. The acceleration directs the listener's attention inward, towards the music itself, as opposed to its performance. I think even the crackles on the vinyl. I think the vinyl is crackling now. But given the nature of this music, can you tell which of the vinyl crackles and which are actually supposed to be there? That's why I think that something like this, not everything, because sometimes vinyl's a pain in the arse, and it's the reason I got rid of all my vinyl in the 90s and changed to CD. Let's not kid ourselves here, vinyl's often a piece of crap. But that's why something like this is better listened to on vinyl, which is why maybe it was never issued on CD, because when you think about it, every listen through this album is unique, because the crackles of the vinyl will randomly interject into the music to the point where you don't know what's what. So every listen is a new experience. That's not the same with CDs and digital. That's not necessarily for the better. Most bands don't want every listen to be a unique experience. But this is. This recording that I'm capturing for posterity now, right? This will never be repeated again. Even if you bought this album, it would never sound quite like this. Like I keep saying, my mercenaries, my intention is to take just elements, not copying, not stealing, just, like I say, it's a palate cleanser. I grew up my whole life adoring Iron Maiden and Aerosmith and Alice Cooper, Pulp, Sway, Blur, Supergrass, Strokes, King Gizzard. But when you hear something like this and you think, that's interesting. And I think some of the greatest music, the stuff that resonates with you for the rest of your life, is the stuff that catches you off guard. It's happened so many times during my life. The greatest musical day of my life, and I've told you this before, but I know I've got a lot of new viewers, although not for this video. The greatest day of my life, get this right, I went out one day in 1995, I think it was, and I bought, on the same day, I came home with 2 CDs on the same day, right? I bought Portishead's Dummy and Jeff Buckley's Grace on the same day in 1995. And I got home, and in those days I used to close the curtains, that just sounds epic. I used to go home, close the curtains and lie on my bed and listen to my music on a CD player. And I listened to, imagine that day, my mercenaries, I listened to Portishead's Dummy and Jeff Buckley's Grace in a Warner. And I was a musician back then, I was in a band, I was playing and I was gigging and everything. And that was the day that, after listening to those 2 albums, I just felt like I needed to give up. Because I just experienced perfection. They're both 12 o'clock albums. They're not even 11:59 albums, they're 12 o'clock albums. And I've told you before, but Jeff Buckley's Grace is the greatest album ever recorded. I'm not going to get into any arguments about it, I'm stating it as a matter of my personal fact. So there are moments where, the reason I was saying that is because certain elements of this music were reminding me of some of the weirder kind of majestical, magical, music is magic. Some of the magic. When you first put Jeff Buckley's Grace on, to me, you're immediately taken to another place. And that's what this music is doing. That's what this music is doing. Music that takes you to another place. Now sometimes you don't need to be taken to another place. If you put Highway to Hell on by AC/DC, you put it on, you have a beer, and you listen to a bloke talking about fucking a woman. Fine. But just remember, music is magic. And magic can be Hans Moretti, or it can be Paul Daniels, or David Copperfield, or David Blaine, I suppose. Just throwing a pack of cards at the windscreen of a car, or hanging himself up in a fucking box. Got this idea, I'm just going to hang above the park in a box. Oh yeah, David, yeah. It's going to be a glass box. Okay, David, you want to hang up in a glass box? What's the point, David? I'm going to show that I can endure. I can just sit in that box for 2 weeks. I can just sit there with no food and water for 2 weeks. Right, okay. Okay, David. Falling in and out of time with itself, which it would, because it's one woman just playing it all again and again. But she's not doing it by accident, it's just by design. This is chaos by design. I like that as well. Music is magic. I could have chaos by design. I could have 2 t-shirts on Mercenaries. I could have a Mercurial number 6 t-shirt which just says music. Music is magic, and remember this, I like this, chaos by design. We'll now find out that there are already t-shirts saying music is magic and chaos by design. Let's go with that one, Mercenaries. It'll be better than having some fucking shit about a bass player. You need this sort of palate cleanser, my Mercenaries. You need palate cleansers. You need to embrace some things sometimes. When I was a kid, I used to love Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa. One of the greatest films ever. It's just a beautiful film. They remade it as A Fistful of Dollars, and that was great too, but watch that original. Watch Yojimbo. That is perfection. The idea of, well, I mean, that's similar to this in a way. Someone going out on their own path. I mean, it's nothing like this at all, but yes, just build and 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 build. Listen to the music from 1983, my Mercenaries. It didn't sound like this. It didn't sound like this. What did you have? Culture Club, Duran Duran. I like that too. Put it down. But this is no fucking Dexy's Midnight Runners. Do you know what I mean? There's a time and a place for everything, my Mercenaries. There's a time and a place for everything. Lose yourself in it. Lose yourself in it. Just when you think it's sounding normal, just when you think it's sounding normal. It's that thing where it kind of does this, and just for a moment in time it's doing that, and then it's doing that again. I like that a lot. What's this one called again? This is Catastrophe. All works composed and performed by Midori Takada. Produced by Midori Takada. See why I had this on the wall. That's just fucking perfect. It's just not orange enough, my mercenaries. Holy shit. Catastrophe, my mercenaries. Catastrophe. Oh, this sounds like Underworld. And of second toughest in the Infants, first track, with red and blue and yellow and green and red and yellow and blue and red and blue. There's definitely a place for lyrics, my mercenaries. Definitely a place for lyrics. I would say, if anything, if I had a criticism of this album, it's the missed opportunity for lyrics, although I suppose they'd be in Japanese. Holy shit. It's just real fun. I've already put a hole through the ceiling. There's now that through it as well. Underworld, definitely listen to this. God, it's like a workout. In some ways, just as much of a workout as Morbid Angel. Thank you, my mercenaries. That was Midori Takada's Through the Looking Glass, Japanese, 1983. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't subscribed, please press subscribe. If you liked it, do that. If you didn't like it, do that. Whatever. Thank you very much, my mercenaries. Till next time, over and